right, so we are joined here. This is a first for Airy Bros Radio. We have an in-studio guest as well as a call-in guest.
Moving on up,
yeah, for sure. We are with, I'm going to butcher his name again because I've already forgotten how to pronounce it, Dan Zolnikov and Jason Romero. You guys remember Jason Romero from Is the Juice Worth the Squeeze? Both of these gentlemen are involved with Achilles International of Colorado, and they have an event coming up here on November 9th, and I think they've already convinced me and talked me into joining and being a part in one way, shape, or form, whether I'm running or volunteering, and Jimmy as well. So we wanted to get them in to discuss, first and foremost, what Achilles International is, and then to talk about the event that they have next weekend. So without further ado, Dan, Jason, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
You there?
Thanks, Rich.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Cool. So I guess, Dan, since you're the co-president of Achilles Colorado, why don't you just tell us what, I mean, I know what it is. Jimmy knows what it is. We were familiar with it. We've been lifelong runners, so we've known it, but there may be some people out there who aren't familiar. So tell us what it is and what you guys got going on.
Yeah, generally, Achilles International is an organization where we have guide runners and we run with people with disabilities. And whether it's a physical disability or neuroatypical, whether you're in a wheelchair, visually impaired, autism, Down syndrome, it doesn't matter what it is. We'll find someone to run or walk with you.
And so you guys go to races all over, trail races, road races, ultras?
Let's see. Jason's done a few ultra races.
He's the anomaly, of course.
He's the anomaly, yeah, as usual. The more you get to know him, yeah, that's a very good way to describe him. A lot of our athletes here in Denver, a lot of 5K, 10K, half marathon, and then I think maybe just 1 to 2 of our athletes have done marathons.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Rich, one of the real important things about Achilles is that it's an organization that there's consistency. So every week there's a training run for our Colorado Denver chapter here on Monday evening, 6 p.m. at Washington Park. Rain, snow, shine, doesn't matter, but there's consistency for our athletes to get out there. And one of the other things that Dan mentioned was that there's guiding, and that is true that they do help people with different physical or intellectual challenges to be able to run or walk or be active. But for me, being an Achilles athlete, I'm visually impaired, I'm legally blind, but me going there, the reason why I go is because it's really about community, and it's about supporting people. A lot of times as we're going through different things, and I know for the athletes it's kind of interesting because we get a lot of support running. Like I may need a person to guide me if it's dark, to make sure I don't run into trees or trip on different things or what have you. But the community also, and maybe Dan can speak about this too, but I've heard a lot of stories about how our guides, who are supposedly helping athletes to run, but Achilles ends up being a community and a supportive mechanism a lot of times for our guides. So it will inspire guides. Athletes get help because we're able to get help to compete and to train, but guides actually get help from and inspiration from being part of that community.
Yeah, for sure. I know when I first started running with Achilles, it was back in 2014, and I had met the guy who started the organization. I met him at a trail race, and Mike Oliva had mentioned that he had this run group in Denver and was living in Englewood at the time, and I should come up and check it out. And I thought, yeah, cool, okay. I've never been to a group run before. I've always done solo trail running, like for sure. He didn't mention anything about it other than Monday 6 p.m. in Wash Park. And I was kind of getting to a point in my running where I was getting a little better than I was before. And I thought, I wonder if there's some way, like something I can do with my running here. Like I wonder, I've got this ability, and I don't want to just use it or waste it, whatever, on myself. And I show up to this run group, and I'm looking around, and I see this old guy with dark glasses on, big old beard. He's got a shirt on with bright red letters that says "Blind Runner." And I thought, oh, okay, this is cool. And then I start looking around, and I'm like, man, look at all these dogs here. And you see the service animal handle on them. They're guide dogs. And then I start looking around at more of the people, and there's a girl with a prosthetic leg. And I thought, this isn't any ordinary run group. There's something else going on here. And I saw what Achilles did, and I mean, I was hooked. I was like, this is it. This is what I was looking for. This is what I was looking to do. Helping people in the community. I tell people I've helped more people go into Achilles for the last 4 years than any politician ever will. And Jason hits it right on the head. We're helping people, and they're certainly helping me too. So
for sure. And so for the two of us who live a half a mile from Wash Park, do we just show up at 6 p.m.? Is that how?
Just show up.
You can just show up?
Just show up.
There's no background check?
They let me in the group, they let Dan in the group, so hey.
Sweet.
We're in there.
Yeah, they haven't told me to leave yet, so yeah, you guys seem pretty respectable. Y'all are good. Yeah.
I've had two in the last 12 months too. One by the FBI and then one for a dog running service that I just started working with. So I'm good. I don't know about that guy sitting over there, but
Since I'm the only one who's had a real job in the past year and a half, I'm sure I'm good.
Yeah, no, and you just show up. I mean, there's no obligation. For the first couple months when I showed up to Achilles, man, I didn't talk to anybody. I like to think of myself as an introvert. Other people don't think so. But yeah, I just showed up and ran with whatever pace group they got into. So with our Monday night group, we have a bunch of people show up, whether it's 5 or 50. And I'll go around and ask people, what pace do you usually run? And if, we've had variations. I do 6-minute miles. And then I've had some people say, I'm just getting off the couch and I want to walk around the park. Like, perfect. And we try and pair people up so that they have someone to go with. Because, when you run with somebody or walk with somebody, there's a bit of, accountability. Not in the strictest sense, but you think, oh, okay, well, I want to see that guy again. He's pretty cool. So, no, I mean, you just show up, run, walk, and then, if you're interested in guiding, the athlete has to be comfortable with who they're running with.
Sure.
And, you build up a relationship, and, you want to learn to guide. I mean, we can help you out with that too. So it's kind of twofold. We want people to come and help out, but we also want people to know that this group is out there. There's a lot of people with disabilities, again, varying whatever they are, neurotypical or physical disability, and we want people to know, look, if you want to get out and you want to have a good time outside, I mean, it's Colorado, it's beautiful. There's people out here that want to help out and want to be with you. Yeah.
Cool. So I got a couple questions. How far does it vary in distances? Are there people that are training for events that are maybe coming here and wanting to run a little bit longer? Is it one loop? Is it the inner perimeter or the outer perimeter? Does it vary?
Yeah, good question. So Wash Park, you've got the inner loop and the outer loop. The inner loop, I think, is like 2.3 miles, and then the outer loop is about 2.5. Usually we have people run 2 loops in the park. 5 miles on a Monday night is usually enough. But sometimes we show up early and run a pre-bonus loop, and then run the 1 or 2 during the actual group run. And then afterwards, I mean, I know Jason's always willing to run a lot more, so I'm sure you can goat him into running more miles.
Cool. Is there one tonight?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
We can get at it. Yes, sir.
After you go there, you will be. It'll touch you at the deepest level, and you'll be inspired.
I'm already inspired.
For real.
I met you a year ago. You inspired me a long time ago, my friend.
So, while we're talking about inspiration, I like to tell Jason he's not so much an inspiration as he is an instigation.
And so
I love it.
With Achilles Denver, are there other groups that meet here in Colorado, like in Boulder or Fort Collins?
Yeah, so there's a Boulder group. I think Boulder only meets in the summer.
Okay.
And then Achilles Pikes Peak. That chapter down there, man, they really took off. So they started a bit after us, and they've got, something about Colorado Springs, man. They've got a great running community down there. They really do.
It's that incline.
Yeah, and their chapter is solid. I mean, they're always doing rock climbing and yoga and all that. So we've got the 3 chapters here.
And you mentioned they have yoga and rock climbing.
Mm-hmm.
Are there other things, activities like that in Denver for like yoga and stuff for the athletes?
We just haven't, put that quite together yet, but I'm sure that's on the horizon for us.
Okay.
Yeah, to find.
We have taken athletes through triathlon as well.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I know some yoga teachers.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, and anyone who's willing to come and volunteer their time, I mean, we love it. Yeah.
Perfect.
We're not going to turn anyone away.
Cool.
Yeah.
And there's like a really important part of this story, and it probably leads up to what we're going to try to do here in a couple weeks. But I want to kind of share, because I think there's a real compelling piece of this story for like what this does for athletes, and we keep saying athletes, but basically it's a person who has a disability. And when a person hits a challenge or struggle in life, everybody knows because we've all been through them. But let's say you're going through life and you end up in a car crash, you broke your back, and now all of a sudden you're confined to a wheelchair, or you have a leg amputated, or in my case, I have this degenerative retinal disease that gets worse over time, and I end up now going into blindness. A lot of people who go through that type of transition in life end up in a depressive episode. And I know I did. I had a major depressive episode, clinically depressed, going to see a psychologist. I was isolated, and I'm a very outgoing person. I'm very extroverted, and I found myself laid up in bed, having very dark thoughts, very, the things I was thinking were tragic, considering that I have 3 kids, and I seem to be jovial and what have you, but that was not where I was at in the midst of that. And I had heard about Achilles in my working career, and people had, I'd shared with somebody, I got this eye disease that was causing me to go blind, and somebody said, "Oh, there's Achilles." I didn't even know what they were. But when I was laid up in this depressive episode, seeing a psychologist, just trying to, continue on, just trying to make it one more day, I thought I heard about this Achilles place, and I looked it up online. I found that it was at Wash Park, and I remember I told my mom, I was like, "Will you go with me to this thing?" I wasn't driving. She's like, "Yeah, I'll go pick you up. Let's get you out. You like to run. These people are running. Let's go." And I remember I went there, and when I showed up, Rich, I saw people, I still have like a 15-degree tunnel, and I have light perception, and I can tell, shapes of people and what they're doing, that type of thing. But I got there, and there were people who were lights out blind, meaning they had no light perception, laughing, joking, everybody having a good time. And I remember I sat there thinking, these people are at a place that I'm terrified to go, and it's okay. And they're still alive, and they're still having a good time. And they inspired me and gave me hope, and that was a large part of me being able to maintain hope and make it out of a serious depressive state. And that's why I'm on the phone with you right now, and that's why this organization, I think, is so important to a lot of people. And that's really a larger story behind it, because it is an outlet and a means for people to continue on and to overcome their challenges, and we do it as a group, and we do it together. And I couldn't say enough about the organization.
Did you have something?
Yeah, so is it safe to say without Achilles International, you running across the country doesn't happen?
Yeah, it could have been a very different story.
Yeah,
it could have been a very different story.
It's pretty interesting and pretty epic that's what kind of got you going and gave you the motivation to get up and start running, and now you're giving back and helping out the organization. It's awesome.
Yeah, and I think the biggest part of this is the community. And had you mentioned, Dan, that not only are the volunteers helping, guiding, but you both, Jason and you have both mentioned that you've gotten probably more from this than what you've given.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think that's a huge thing, and that's what we're trying to do here with what we do is, when everybody does better, everybody does better. And in today's society, there's a lot of us that are withdrawn, or we're very introverted, and we live in an apartment complex, and we talk to maybe 2 of the 15 units that live there, and we're living on top of each other, but we don't know anybody.
Right.
And we all have these different things. We've had maybe depressive episodes or just not wanting to get out of bed, and it's like, but bringing us together and talking about these sorts of things and getting it out there and letting people know you're not alone, you're not a snowflake. It's okay to feel like this.
Yeah.
I feel like this sometimes, and sometimes you just have to sit in it, but there's other things that we can do to get out of this, and part of that is getting involved and helping and being around other people. And I tell him all the time, there's a reason why they put people in solitary confinement in prison.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We have to get out. You have to interact. You need to be around people.
Yep.
It's good for you to do these sorts of things. So I think this is amazing, and hopefully we can. I don't know if I can get out of here in time with what I have to get done today,
No
but
worries,
I'm definitely going to start coming because, like I said, it's about a half mile, 3/4 from my house, and I'm always looking to run with people. And as I said, I want to do some things with helping other people. With that being said, the reason why we're here is because I saw Jason post about an event that is going on at Wash Park next Saturday.
Yep.
So, if you want to talk about that, and then we'll let Jason, talk a little bit about it too. Sure. And then we can get into how people can help out or get involved.
For sure, yeah. So I think Jason and I, we had this idea. I don't know if this was when we were doing Hope Pass in July, but
3 Leadville finishers right here, ladies and gentlemen.
This podcast is sponsored to you by the Leadville 100.
I just want to say, my two of my 3 paces at Leadville, I met at Achilles.
Cool.
They're guide runners, and they're solid. They're solid people, solid runners. So we were, Jason said he was back east and ran with the Achilles chapter in Rhode Island, and they had a Hope and Possibility run, for fundraising run for their chapter. And Jason would be able to better talk about this, but people with disabilities, a lot of times they're living on Social Security, SSDI, SSI, and that's not, you're not making a lot of money. You don't have a lot of money in the account if that's the case. Race entry fees are going up, and what we're doing is we decided that we do this run-a-thon thing because it seems like people are always willing to pay other people to be in pain. And we thought, okay, let's do this run-a-thon. We'll raise money, and what we're going to do with that money is try and offset the cost for some of our athletes for race entry fees. A lot of local races here, they treat us really well. Guides run for free. Our athletes usually get a pretty good discount. But some other, the bigger races, they don't give us a deal. And what we're looking for is to run for 12 hours in Wash Park and raise some money for our organization. But
cool. And would that be on the inner loop?
We'll see. Okay. Inner loop, outer loop. I think we have a few athletes coming down. So I know Luann, she prefers to run on the outer loop because it's gravel and a little softer. Amelia prefers the outer loop. But yeah, we'll see. It's kind of informal. But it's about racking up the miles and raising some money for our organization.
Cool.
Yeah.
Jason, did you have anything you wanted to add into that before I?
Yeah, I suppose the one thing that I would say is racing is a big, Dan touched on the fact that, a lot of folks who end up, with a disability end up on fixed income. Some don't, but some do. And for those that do, being part of a race can be, a race entry fee can be a barrier to participation. And we never want that to happen because the training is fun. The Monday night training runs are good. It's community. It's that type of thing. But we all know there's a difference between training and race day. And race day is about community with the entire community. It's not just with, the Achilles group. So, like, for instance, take the rock and roll half marathon that just happened. And there's a big difference between, going on a group run on a Monday night with 20 folks or 30 folks versus lining up, having the excitement of, starting at a race with 6,000 people and you're running and people are encouraging you, people you never knew. I wear my blind bib and people are like, it's so inspiring. You don't even know it's inspiring because I'm just running, right? I'm just running blind. Somebody else may be running with depression or dyslexia or whatever. They just don't have a sign on. But what's inspiring is that we're a community cheering and encouraging each other on. And that experience is what we're raising money for, is to help people to understand that, we're all inspiring, we're all athletes, we're all capable, and we're all in it together. And I think that's that's the huge piece of what the money ends up going towards, is to make sure that our athletes in particular have the opportunity to do that, and it's critical.
Mm-hmm.
And do you have an estimate right now as to how many people are participating next week?
I think I know we got at least 15 people coming down.
Okay.
And then however many donors they've got, people just pledging money, but we've got a nice little handful of us.
And what time is it going to start? What time do I need to be at the starting line?
7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Okay.
November 9th, Wash Park. Jason, are we going to meet in front of the rec center, or are we going to meet on the other side?
Yeah, what we're looking at doing is we're looking at meeting at the rec center.
Okay.
And the reason for that is, Rich, we're going to have an aid station set up, so like a little mini aid for our runners or whoever's running around the park, and we'll have water, Gatorade, different food. We'll also have a pledge table with information about Achilles. There's a couple of folks that will be, I have a book out, and I will be selling that with the profits going to Achilles. I was speaking to one of our other athletes today who's a blind potter, an artist, and she actually makes coffee mugs, and she's going to be doing a similar type of thing.
Nice.
It's going to be great. And the other thing, too, is it's during a 12-hour time period. People do not need to run or walk or wheel the entire amount of time. The way pledges are taken is for any athlete or supporter who wants to be involved and help raise the money for our chapter, as long as you are running, walking, or wheeling, meaning in a wheelchair, during that time period, a certain set amount of miles, and it's your responsibility to have a Garmin watch or some way to capture what that amount of miles is, and then you will go to your pledgors, whoever's supporting you, and if they've pledged $1 a mile and you move $1 a mile or 5 miles during that time period, then you've earned $5 for Achilles. There are a handful of us, meaning me, Dan, and I, who are committed to doing the full 12 hours.
You can count me in there.
In excess of 50 miles apiece.
Yeah, my goal is 50. my secret goal is to try and run more than Jason.
Well, I'm going to let you two duke it out, and I'm going to try to clean up the scraps so you guys kill each other.
and well, the one thing I can tell you is I got a very, very generous donor who donated $5 a mile to me up to 50 miles, and then $10 per mile after 50 miles.
Oh my goodness!
So
all right,
he's put it out there to try to put down as many as I can.
Very cool.
All right.
And the other beautiful thing is we also have 2 anonymous donors. One donor donated 50 cents a mile for every mile that any runner, either donor or Achilles athlete or a guide or Achilles athlete or whomever is running during that day. So say we have 20 people running that day, this donor will pledge 50 cents per mile for every mile that all 20 of those runners run. We have another donor who's donated 47 cents a mile for all of the miles that all the folks will run.
So even if
we have the potential to make some serious money for the chapter.
So even if we show up without a donor, you have someone donating 50 cents.
That's right.
Nice. Yeah. So come on down.
Is there some kind of minimum that you want from each runner with the donations, or no?
Could someone donate
No.
just a lump sum, like instead of like per mile, if they wanted to just say, hey, I love what you're doing, here's $100?
Absolutely. Yeah, we just recently received a check from the Holland and Hart Foundation, just flat amount. Yeah. So, and we're a 501c3, so I'll talk to our accountant about how to get that all written off. I didn't take a tax law class in law school.
And would you prefer people to, when the smoke settles and say the 3 of us end up running 70 miles, as Jason has put out on social media that he wants to do, if I get donations, would you prefer that lump sum from each individual be made out to Achilles International Denver, or?
Yeah, I mean, I'd prefer it myself, but yeah, Achilles International Colorado.
Achilles International Colorado.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Is there a donate button on the site or anything like that for? Because obviously you guys want or are willing to take donations anytime.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And the other thing is, outside of monetary donations, are you looking for shoes, gear, those sorts of things as well?
Okay, so I don't think on our website we don't have a donate button. So
Okay.
we don't have that set up where we can do it online. We're still a bit old-fashioned right now. And then second, when it comes to gear, the Brooks rep used to come down to our group, and she would hand out, the shoes that were, ran in a few times. Stuff like that if it's fairly new. For the most part, I mean, I guess I can't speak for all of our athletes, but for the most part, they've got pretty good gear. I don't know, Jason, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, if there's a rep out there that would like to help out an athlete with, good stuff or overrun stuff, our folks can always do that. I know the shoes were very popular for our guides and our athletes. That was a real nice perk. The real thing with the run-a-thon, though, I think we're trying to basically donate or achieve cash donations so we can pay those registration fees. But like any other 501c3, it's very valuable for us. If there is the possibility of gear, but it's not kind of like old used stuff. It's kind of like
I was thinking like new stuff from either some of the local running stores here, or I have
definitely.
I've met a lot of people in my travels and know people that are in the industry and also own specialty shops. And I have closets full of race shirts. So when I used to coach high school cross country, so once or twice a year I load up a box with swag that I get from races that I'm not the guy that's going to hold on to a race from 10 years ago. If it's going to go to a high school kid that needs a dry fit running shirt and is going to have a cool story, like, how did you get that Leadville shirt? And like, oh, well, this guy that used to coach here has run the race and he gives the stuff back to our coach. And then we, coach makes us, have a push-up contest to see who's going to get the Leadville jacket or whatever. So that's why I was just wondering if people needed, a gear and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I mean, tech shirts are always good. Shoes, I mean, those are the big money items. Yeah, and again, if you're on a fixed income, those are difficult purchases.
Sure.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then I in addition to, starting to come to the group runs and doing the run-a-thon with you guys, I am a running coach. And so one of the big things I do, in addition to just making people's workouts, I've spent a lot of time studying biomechanics, and I've also worked with amputees and teaching them how to run with their prosthetics properly.
Cool.
So if that's ever something that we wanted to do in terms of, I know Jason has told me many times that he kicks roots and rocks and stuff like that, and I think that we could also work on some technique stuff there so that we can potentially avoid some of those roots and rocks by using our hamstrings a little bit more. So if there's ever an opportunity for something like that I can be involved in doing a run clinic or getting people dialed in with their technique a little bit better, count me in.
Cool. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Absolutely.
You're officially volunteered in.
Perfect.
Voluntold, right?
Go ahead.
Yeah, while we were talking about the community and all that, is kind of a not necessarily totally tangential, but a few people who have come to our run group have said, Achilles is really one of the fully inclusive run groups. We've got everybody. We've got walkers. Jason, I think, is 240, 250 marathoner. So we've got everybody. We've got lady, she's got cerebral palsy, and she does half marathons. So it doesn't matter if you're wanting to learn how to run, just wanting to get off the couch and go for a walk. We have everybody. We're truly, maybe I'm a little biased, but I think we're truly 100% inclusive. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Everybody needs that.
And I think that's a real important thing too, because I think a lot of people who come out to different groups or run groups, they're intimidated, that type of thing. We get people who just moved to town or who are just, like Dan said, literally getting off the couch in this group helps to get people, through their first 5K or first, mile walk. I mean, it's really, really incredible.
And does the run group meet at the rec center as well on Monday nights, or is there a different location for that?
Nope. Yeah, rec center. When the weather is really bad. So, Jason, it snowed here last night. So, I don't know if we're gonna have like too many athletes tonight. Usually, when the weather's bad, it's kind of hard to guide and a little bit tougher for some of our visually impaired athletes to make it down. But either outside of the entrance of the rec center, or sometimes we meet inside the rec center. When it's really cold, but.
And
and when Dan mentions that it's kind of tough for some of our runners, just FYI, we have regular runners that actually commute all the way down from the Boulder area and Nederland. Literally, their round trip and run time is 6 to 7 hours to do this one group run. That's how important it is. They may commute on a bus into Boulder and then catch a bus down into Denver, get a ride from Union Station or take a bus from Union Station to Wash Park, and then have a person guide them from a bus, stop and get them to the rec center. That time period can be 2 to 3 hours, and then they run with the group for a little over an hour, and then it's the same thing to get back home. That's how important this is to people, and they do that every week. I mean, it's incredible, Rich. You get there and you see that happen, and you're like, wow, this is really incredible.
Well, I'm in. Like I said, I don't know if we're going to finish. We got some editing and stuff to do here. Yeah. But moving forward, if I don't show up tonight, I will be there next Monday, and I will be there Saturday, and then Mondays thereafter. All right. And I count on you two to hold me accountable, and that guy over there to hold me accountable. Right. Do you guys have anything else you want to add before we get you out of here? I know you guys got stuff to do. Jason, you got some crazy race coming up, I saw, right?
Me? Never.
Well, what are you doing, Jason?
Never. Yeah. So I got. It's actually a cool race. It's called the Polar Bear Marathon, but I'll be running a 50K, and it is ran up by the Arctic Circle. So you fly into Winnipeg, Canada, and then you take a little puddle jumper up to Churchill, which is the world's largest concentration for polar bears, and then they run a marathon and a 50K. I'll be in the 50K. There's only 2 people in the 50K. And you're followed by you run in pairs of 2s, and a truck follows you, so you could jump in the truck in case a polar bear comes. And they say the trucks have shotguns too to try to scare the polar bears away.
And you're doing that this weekend?
That's not this week. This weekend I'm helping a friend who's running at Rio del Lago, a 100-miler in Sacramento. That's Polar Bear Marathon's in a couple weeks.
I got to see you 2 weekends in a row then, huh?
Yep.
Wait, so
the final thing would be the easiest way to find us and find this race is to go to Facebook, and it's called 12-Hour Hope and Possibility Achilles Runathon.
Yeah, and you can find our group on Facebook too, Achilles International -Colorado.
Cool. Yeah. And I will link all that stuff in the show notes, as well as the Jason, your website, and the link for the book, for your book, Jason. And like I said, moving forward, I'm going to be there. Cool. I'll be there. Hopefully be able to keep up with you guys next Saturday. And Jimmy will come
70 miles, buddy.
I don't know if I got 70 miles in the tank, but I will.
I'm with you, but we're going to do it.
I'll give it a go. And yeah, thank you guys so much for coming in. We really appreciate you. And hopefully in doing this, again, we can get some other people from this area to help out with the group, but then also reach out to our community and get, because people love to see us suffer. So I've got people like want me, they're willing to pay for my entries and stuff just to do some of these crazy races because they want to see me, not that they necessarily want to see me fail, but they want to see me suffer. So I'm sure we can get some donations out there for you guys and contribute to the group. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having us.
Cool. Jason,
thanks for having us, fellas.
Will you be there next Monday? Or are you still going to be in California?
I'm not sure whether I'll be there. Actually, I'm going to be in Atlanta.
Man.
I'll be there in spirit.
Okay. Well, then I will see you next Saturday, my friend.
Sounds good.
Right on.
Take care, guys.
All right. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Cool.
Sweet. Dan, thanks so much for coming in. We really appreciate your time. And I look forward to getting some miles with you, sharing the trails, and helping out.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah,
Thank
looking
you.
forward to it, too.
Cool.
All right.
All right, folks. That is Airy Bros Radio. Until next time, much love. Namaste from the boys of 1512.
So...